Pleasure to meet you. My name is Dr. Julie Novick. I am an AIPP certified AI governance professional, an AI strategist, and an implementation specialist here at SkillSpout. I've been, for the last 8 years, building and designing AI systems that are poised for adoption. And 16 years prior to that, I was an anthropologist specializing in social change. Right now, we are at a moment of a technological revolution that will change the way we live and work. And what we're going to talk about today is how to be leaders in this revolutionary moment. Our session is titled Managing the Robot in the Room, From Fear to Fluency. And we're going to talk about the shift from a workplace culture of anxiety to one of high-level AI mastery. At SkillSpout, we help teams adopt AI in a way that is safe, structured, and accessible. And I want you to know the reasons why we do that. Most implementations fail, not because of the technology, but because organizations feel the pressure to innovate while not being fully prepared for the change that's about to take place. And simply handing out a large language model platform login credential to your team doesn't lead to the results that leaders are looking for. And because of that, we take a human-first approach that focuses on your people, not just the technology. And today we're going to go into more detail about how that is done from a change management informed perspective on the transformation process. So according to the Pew Research, 50% of workers are worried about AI's impact and 32% fear it will lead to fewer job opportunities. And that's fear that's running underneath the surface. And it's creating what's called the performance paradox. When people are afraid of a tool is going to replace them, they resist that tool. And it makes, even if that tool would make their work easier, it creates this self-fulfilling prophecy of refusal to use the tool that will help them and then becoming part of the people that get replaced by others who use that tool. We've heard that time and time again, AI is not going to take your job. Someone with AI skills will take your job. And as a leader, you're going to want your teams to overcome this fear, not just because you want your organization to be successful with AI, and you do, but also because you don't want your people to be left behind either. And we'll talk about how to address this fear so that you, your team, and your organization can prosper in the age of AI. So let's look into this a little bit in more detail. Why does just use it fail? Leaders often fall into this executive blind spot. They use AI daily and they're wondering why nobody else is, because they see the benefits of it. It's making their work so much better, faster, more productive. They're more efficient. It's great. They don't understand why others aren't seeing that. And I've even seen some leaders, a little bit misguided attempts to put pressure and maybe use fear to change that behavior. If I give my team a lot of work and they will be overwhelmed, then they'll naturally need to figure out how to get around this, and they'll use AI and they'll pick up on this amazing thing that I've discovered. Or if I tell them they have to use it or else those efficiencies are going to come. And the thing is, fear is not a motivator. It's actually a demotivator. And with AI, people have many fears, but the three main fears that they bump up against are the fear of, is my job safe? This is the question of, if I use AI, will my boss think that I'm lazy? Or will my boss think that AI can do the work that I would normally do and I'd be replaced by it? And this fear becomes absorbing them. And so they don't want to use the tool because they're afraid that what it will say about them. And then there's this skill element. I don't know how to prompt. Everybody says they're getting great results, but when I put a prompt into the AI, it comes out with garbage and I actually have to do more work and it's not working right. And there's these frustrations about not being able to get the results that they're thinking they should be getting, expecting to get. And then there's this permission fear. Am I even allowed to use this tool with my data? So the question becomes, will I get in trouble if I use it? What can I put into it? If I make a mistake and put in the wrong thing, will I lose my job? And it's this cascading fear. So when you're mandating AI without addressing those fears as a leader, it's kind of like pushing someone into the deep end of the water even without them knowing how to swim. Instead of learning how to swim, they start drowning. And that can be a frustrating experience for everyone. So at SkillSpout, we bridge this gap with a healthy dose of change management theory woven throughout our training and offerings. We are the guide on the side instead of the sage on the stage. We prioritize dialogue rather than, that lecturer on the podium saying grandiose things. It's more about a relationship before the instruction. And transformation is a partnership and not a transaction. And that is what guides us as we build out our approach. Um, it's both our trainings and our other offerings are rooted in the belief that awareness precedes action. It's AI is not just another tool. We can't treat it like another tool and just teach people how to use the tool. We have to treat it like a transformation that it is. And it's a complete mindset shift that allows your team, your people to become fluent orchestrators of AI, to go from thinking of it as a tool to thinking of it as a way of being, or to borrow a phrase from Wharton professor Ethan Mollick, to use AI as a co-intelligence. So let's talk about some more about what AI can do. Roughly 60% of tasks can be handled by AI. I know that's shocking, and that could be a little bit scary for some. But here's the kicker. Those 60% of tasks are things that bog us down. It's the drudgery work. Oop, preview. But it is the drudgery work. And the 40% of the tasks that are remaining are the things that are uniquely human, the things that drive value and meaning in our lives, things like judgment, relationships, creativity. Time and time again, when I'm talking with my clients about what they're going to gain, what they like to do, what they value from their jobs, it's that building of relationships that's important to them. It brings value and joy to their workday. What if you could spend almost 100% of your time devoted to building and sustaining relationships as your job and not those drudgery tasks? So, how do we create a world where that is a reality? We use our framework, which takes you through 4 phases or moments in the transformation. We start with an orientation moment where leaders learn where their team is. And then we build that into the foundation moment. This is a moment where we start reframing how we experience the tools. It's a learning period. Then the emergence where we start getting some comfort and experimentation with the tools. And then we move on into that integration where we come back together and really start feeling the results. And the role of leadership in your organization is probably the most important thing at each stage. Study after study suggests that without leadership in the room, adoption doesn't happen. And now you might be asking, what does leadership look like if it's not a mandate, if it's not the top-down approach that a lot of people kind of think is the first step? And we're going to talk about that. Let's dig into these stages and ensure that we have AI as a cultural shift. So phase 1 is orientation. And in this phase, the leader's role is to listen. This is where we use our readiness surveys to capture the hopes and hangups of your team. Then we address them through our training and strategy offerings. Once you're oriented and understand what the concerns are, you can start building that foundation. And the leader's role in that is to empower the team. And how we do that is this is a moment where we form the AI transformation team, or AITT. These are your internal champions. These are the people who build the social infrastructure for the rest of the organization. These are the leaders to come. And what we do is we build on Bridges' transition model from a change management perspective. And we take these newly anointed AI leaders through the transformation themselves. They learn through the experience by undergoing the mindset shift that everyone will be going through. And so with that comes those frustrations, those uncomfortable moments, those discomforting moments, that not knowing if you're good at or how this might be better than what you're currently doing. And leaders act as role models throughout this process of sharing this experience with the team. Once we have that, we can move into the emergence phase. And here the leader becomes the protector. The AITT, the AI transformation team, begins to function as a community of practice. They start sharing their failures, they start sharing their successes. They're getting more confident with the tools, they're understanding things more, they're understanding what works, what doesn't. They're really starting to gain strength and understanding on this mindset shift. They can't do that unless they have psychological safety. So in this moment, you're protecting them. You're protecting them from not having that psychological safety. And we're finding a lot of times that this is also a moment where the leadership is modeling this psychological safety, where the leaders are vulnerable themselves, that they're part of this community of practice, sharing their challenges as well as their victories with AI. They're modeling that vulnerability and psychological safety for their team. We find that when the president or CEO is in this AI transformation team, we see this AI transformation team thrive because they're getting this process modeled from the top. So it's not a mandate, it's more a demonstration. And once we get past this emergence phase, then we get the full integration. And what happens that is instead of just having one leader or a small group of leaders as the model, you have a full group of AI leaders to model this for the rest of your team. That initial team has developed AI fluency and acts as guides and role models to the rest of the team. And communities of practice spread and momentum is gained, and people are using AI responsibly and safely, and this spreads through the organization. And now your organization starts to see that ROI that you've been promised with AI, and people start using it and feeling comfortable and adopting it. And this is why our first three stages of our AI maturity framework are momentum AI, because you get that momentum at this point to guide you to that moment of real transformation and where that real movement takes place. So where's your team right now? Put your answers in the chat. I'd love to see. So let's recap the roadmap. So when you start with that first phase, that initial discovery, that readiness survey, where you are, what the concerns you have, that usually happens from the first 15 days if we're doing a 90-day roadmap. Then the next, while that's happening, you're empowering your team, you're creating the AI transformation team. That's the first 30 days of this process. And then that's emergence happens between 30 and 60 days. You start getting those community of practice. People are experimenting, they're learning, they're growing. And then by 90 days, you're ready to start expanding out to your full team. And I've seen this happen time and time again. People get excited, they start using tools. After the first foray, they're curious, they're experimenting, they feel more comfortable, they're starting to think about different ways they can do things, they're thinking about different ways they can help other people do things. It's a really phenomenal experience to go through this. And so the next question I have for you, is where do you want to be? So if you're ready to move your team from fear to fluency, let's talk. You can scan this QR code. for a 30-minute discovery call, and we'll take a look at and talk to you about your culture's readiness and help you identify the biggest adoption blockers. And I want to thank you for your time and open this up to some Q&A. Okay, what's one thing a leader can do today to set their team for success with AI adoption? That was the question. Really, I think the first step is to be that model. Then one thing you can do is be that model, not just from a mandate perspective, but from a learning and growth and vulnerability perspective. And that may be simply asking, knowing when to ask for and need help learning and growing through a transformation process. I think that is the first thing you can do. And then what kind of support does SkillSpout offer organizations and their programs to help with the change management piece? That's a great question. So we've embedded not only change management theory into the way that we teach and do strategy, but there are what we call plays that help guide you through the process of setting up your internal structure to allow for communities of practice, for building out that infrastructure you need. These guides for you help you establish the groups, the peer groups that will drive your forward the work that you're trying to do. I hope to speak with you guys soon in person, and we can talk some more about change management and AI transformation.